Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. Curtis Sensei couldn't be here tonight, and he asked me to teach the class, so I'll be teaching. Let's bow in first. Onegaishimasu. So nice to see you all, young and old alike. We'll do our Kisei and then I'll talk a little bit. Tonight I'll read Shokushu number 13, the unity of calm and action. Just as a top spinning very rapidly mimics a calm state, true calmness is the height of action. As the eye of the typhoon is always calm, movement gains its strength from this calmness. Calmness and action are exactly one. By always experiencing our one point and unifying our mind and body, spare time appears when busy, and we don't lose our calm mind even when facing important jobs. In such a state, we are able to perform extraordinary works. All right, so I told Sensei when he asked me to teach that we'll just do the kind of follow the Wednesday, Sunday morning format for the class tonight. In other words, we'll do our 3 forms of meditation, sitting practice. And I will leave the discussion of Toi Sensei's 3rd principle to him. So what I'd like to talk about tonight is on Wednesday night in our class, the class I taught, I spoke about reactivity and how this training engages that in a direct way through key test as one of the things. And tonight, I'd like to talk a little bit about responsibility and how that also is part of this training, a very important part. And, you know, this isn't something that really is talked a lot about in books. It's kind of something you become aware of, we become aware of when we're around teachers. And so all 3 of my teachers, the ones that I've trained a lot under, Shainer Sensei, Nalawai Sensei, and Curtis Sensei, have exhibited this understanding of responsibility that I'm going to talk about. And it's not something that is often discussed in the practice. Sometimes it's left for people to do and to choose on their own and in their own time. So, but I know some of you have been training for a long time. And so I know that there are many people here who understand what I'm going to talk about here. But the idea is that with the practice, the level of responsibility, our personal responsibility towards the practice grows. And it manifests in different ways, right? So a very basic way is that people that after they've trained for a while, they might get asked to assist an instructor in a class, right? I think most of you know about this, and some of you have experienced this. So that's one of the ways. And then if you do that long enough, then maybe eventually you also end up teaching a class. So that's of course, only one of the ways, but it's a really important way. Teaching in this practice, it's, we learn a lot about ourselves when we teach. It's incredibly valuable. So, of course, we have to have the opportunity too. But, an important part of it is that we have to be willing to accept the responsibility to do it. And sometimes even if there isn't a teaching opportunity or an assisting opportunity, there are other opportunities, helping in other ways. Of course, working, setting up seminars, helping take care of the dojo, taking care of websites, these kind of things are all very important. They're all important to the practice. I think we know that. And they're important to our own personal development. So, and I don't know how clear that is to everyone. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. It's kind of like Curtis Sensei has talked about this kind of ever expanding experience of reality as we train. Well, that includes responsibility. In other words, responsibility comes with that ever expanding understanding. It's funny. I mean, I've over the years talked to people traveling, and some people have said, "Oh, I don't want to teach. Oh, I'm not interested in that. I just want to train." And that's fine, of course. But what I'm trying to say is that accepting the responsibility is part of the way that we allow ourselves more chances for reactivity. We increase the tests that we have in our life, right? So whether it's teaching a class or doing other things, these kind of things, they tend to be, sometimes it can be, they take up a lot of time. And so it kind of makes us work hard at finding ways to accommodate these increasing responsibilities, to let go of the things that aren't so important in our lives, so that we can bring this practice into everything we're doing. So that's what I wanted to start with tonight. And of course, all of this is related to what we talked about Wednesday, this topic of reactivity as well, because the more things we're responsible for, the more chances for people to demand things of us, those kind of things. And so the more chances for us to react and to, of course, understand more deeply. So I'll let you think about that or just consider that a little bit while we practice our sitting. And then we can talk about that if you like for a few minutes at the end of class. And, or we can talk about any topic you like related to the practice. Okay, so let's start with key breathing. All right. So we were talking earlier about responsibility. Yeah, so we host, we've had at our dojo on Oahu, we've had the chance to host a lot of seminars. I know the folks on Maui have been able to host many seminars over the years, big ones, small ones, all kinds. The first seminar I attended was in South Carolina. It was hosted by the dojo where I had started practice. And Iwao Tamura sensei was the teacher. He was the instructor at that seminar. So people came from all over the US to attend. And I was very recent, you know, it hadn't been very long since I started training. And so we're very unaware of how things worked. And it wasn't until I arrived at this gym where we were hosting the seminar that I realized all of the work that had gone into preparing and setting up for this thing. It was 3 basketball courts of wrestling mats had been set down by our own students. And I was not involved. I was a professor at that time. And so I was teaching the afternoons pretty much every day. But to be honest, I was very unaware. And when the seminar ended, everybody started helping break down the setup, right? The mats, everything had to be cleared out. And it was a lot of work. It was on the 2nd floor of this big gym complex. So it was very hard to get the mats in and out of there. And it was then that I realized just how much work had gone in to preparing for this seminar. I mean, there were over 100 people there. It was very big. This is a very highly respected sensei from Japan that taught it. So, you know, and that's how this goes. And it's not only big things, it's small things as well. Responsibility is always there. There's always opportunities for us. So when we were, you know, I announced that this would be the last class because of COVID, March 2020. We had no idea when we were going to be back in the dojo, right? And so one of my students, who's here tonight, came up to me and said, "Oh, why don't you take this with you? Don't leave it in the dojo." Just awareness, being on top of the entire situation. It can be small things, like offering me the bell to take with me, or big things like helping at a seminar. Everything matters. All of these things matter, right? And there are always opportunities for us to understand and to accept a responsibility. And my teacher, Clayton Aloi Sensei, used to say, you know, how important it is to accept when you have an opportunity. His idea, the way he talked about it, was that if you say no to the opportunities around you, eventually you don't see the opportunities anymore. And so this is the process of expanding, accepting, taking on more and more. So, and it's of course very deeply ingrained in this training. Otomo training is another one that I didn't mention earlier. So many things. So maybe you'd like to comment on this? You'd like to say anything? Or you can talk about anything related to the practice.
Oh,
Gloria,
good evening,
go ahead.
Sensei.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I think when we do something often enough, we not only get into a routine, um, we hosted many seminars at our dojo. And I remember one time another dojo was asked to take the responsibility, another Oahu dojo, and I worried about them the whole time. I wanted to step in and help out and take over, and so it was so much easier when we were doing it ourselves than having to worry about whether somebody would remember everything. Uh, and so, if you do something often enough, it's almost like having someone come into your kitchen and take over. It's like, don't break the dishes, don't do this. You know, uh, so that was I guess a kind of funny aspect of responsibility. Um, and Nalawai Sensei also talked about responsibility in really interesting ways. If somebody was having difficulty with someone else, he would get them up with someone else and push against their shoulders, and he would then have one person step away and say, "Now who's responsible for the conflict?" And usually, put students the first time they were complaining about somebody else, and so he would ask them that question. They kind of go, uh, "Are you responsible for the conflict?" I guess so. So and then we would become in touch with how reluctant we sometimes are to take responsibility, even if we don't feel we have started something or that we are totally responsible for it. There wouldn't be a conflict if we didn't take part in it. So that was just one thing that I remember that he was adamant about for responsibility.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. I like how you tied um, the topic of responsibility, taking on more responsibility with accepting responsibility for our own behaviors and actions, right? That was very good. I will tell you, many of you know that I've served as Otomo for Shana Sensei and Nalawai Sensei on trips and at the dojo, and also for Curtis Sensei. But there are some other people, Tracy Reasoner Sensei, I believe, is here. Interest Sterling is here. Sometimes they're Otomo, and I'm somewhere nearby. And so even in those situations, so this is related to what you said about the other dojo uh, uh, having the main role. My responsibility, if one of those people or anyone else is the Otomo, is to make sure they have what they need so that they can do their job, right? In other words, Otomo, in that sense, isn't just a one-time deal. It's not just on and off. It's basically always on, even when you're not the official one. And so if someone else is hosting, you watch and you help, right? And you may help quietly, you may offer. There are many ways to do it, right? If you see someone struggling in terms of taking care of things, then you step in and give them a hand. And that helps, that supports everyone in the practice, right? And so it's like, and sometimes when we finish a seminar, we have to take down at our dojo, we have to set up and take down mats after seminars and after classes, right? And so after seminar, many students from other dojos participate in the takedown of everything. So yeah, this is really, really important part of our practice. I think easily overlooked. And, you know, I like to kind of focus on the simple things here, focus on that. And there's really no end to what we can do in helping others around us. Anyone else like to share anything? David, Heva.
I don't know how to tap the thing to say I'm raising my hand, but
We got you.
I've definitely been on the end of getting help from say yourself, and when I was Otomoing for sure, little nudges here and there. But I was really amazed when I first came in, even now, in our dojo, you know, especially that all the high level people, they show up. They never not show up. I mean, from Joni Sensei, Melly, Fincher. I mean, you know, it's really amazing how much. And with this COVID thing that happened, I really realized how much I missed out on participating. Put it that way, and showing up, because I've always found excuses to. Well, because I have a big family, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I always find a way. It is a situation, but definitely I didn't have to be there. But I would say, oh, I got this and that, right? But I just realizing that what the training really kind of is, you know, as far as it's about showing up and paying attention, basically, you know, and just grateful to have that opportunity, I guess, to learn, you know. And I haven't been much in the Zoom because I have a real multi-generational household, so it's hard to be alone, you know. It's kind of weird, you know. But anyway, I just want to show my appreciation to you for teaching.
Well, thank you, David.
Yeah.
Thank you for opening your heart in that way. Yeah, so it's never too late, right? You can, you know, Sunday there's another class Sunday morning if you have the opportunity, and it's fine. This is what had to happen for you to come to this understanding, right? And I think it's a wonderful thing. You feel grateful. You understand. You know, I said in classes months ago just how much more sitting I've been doing because of these Zoom classes. You know, it's like 3 days. I had been teaching a couple of Zoom classes on top of these 3 that are Curtis Sensei was teaching. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just like I'm sitting in the morning and then I'm sitting in the evening, and, you know, the sheer amount of practice. And I mean, it's never too late. That's what I can say about that. And don't beat yourself up. Yeah.
Thank you, Sensei.
You're welcome. Well, it's so nice to see everyone. Thank you for letting me ring the bell and clap the Sokuboku tonight. I look forward to the next time. I'll see you all Sunday. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.